Welcome back, and joining me in the studio now is Becky Horn, who is the Health Educator 3 with the Green River District Health Department. Becky, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You know, I know you really go by Rebecca, but I've always known you as Becky, so we're just going to go with Becky. It's a lot easier on me. First of all, before we even get started, I want you to share with our folks how long you have been involved in the anti-tobacco coalition in any shape or form here in Davis County.
15 years. I've been doing it. I'm silly, I guess, or crazy. I don't know. Yeah, 15 years.
Do you feel like you're beating your head against the wall?
Some days. Some days are better than others, but sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you have been as long as I've known you. Matter of fact, I think when I first met you, it was probably on the set of this show, and you were talking about some sort of sensation class or whatever the case was, trying to get people to quit smoking. So first of all, let me say thank you, because it takes a lot to stick with something like this for as long as you have. And I know that anybody who knows you associates you with this advocacy program that you are part of. So you've made a big difference. Okay, first of all, let's set the stage. Has the rate of smoking dropped in the state of Kentucky at all?
In the 15 years I've been here, yes, it has.
It has.
I think when I started, we had a board that said 34 on it, 34%, and right now we're down to 26. So
making
progress, but we're still way higher. The national average is like 15, 16 now.
Oh, is it?
So yeah, so we trade up with sometimes West Virginia for number one, but you know, we're still way up there as a state.
You know, it's interesting because as an ex-smoker, as we talked about earlier, I don't see as many people smoking. In my mind, and when I'm traveling around town or whatever I'm doing, and maybe that's because they don't allow smoking in places anymore. Maybe that's really the reason I'm noticing it.
Yeah, it's that you don't see it in places, it's not normal, but my contention is, you know, a lot of the smoking I think that we're facing now, it's people that are, you know, coping. We talk about adverse childhood events and stress and trauma. That's been their coping mechanisms. We have people that use it as a cope. Usually people with lower socioeconomic factors, not all, but some are usually a higher rate of smoking. So I think it's more segmented in the population. Mental health and smoking kind of go hand in hand. We've really been trying to work with the substance abuse population because it's been found that, you know, you can, you know, be in treatment for like other substances and stop smoking at the same time. A lot of times they thought, well, why are we doing this to these poor people? We're already trying. But it's found it's been effective to do it at the same time. So we're kind of going into different segments of the population, whereas at one time we were just throwing a big blanket over everybody. Right,
exactly. Now, where do the e-cigs fall into this?
E-cigs, the smoking rate's going down, but the e-cig rate obviously is going up because it's new. Usually that's going to be, you know, high school or, you know, young adult. The concern we have with the e-cigs is not so much the people that are trying to stop smoking and switching to the e-cig, is the people who have never touched anything and think e-cig's a good idea. Because like when I talk to the kids, you know, it tastes better. When you and I were younger, and if you wanted to start smoking, it was kind of nasty. I'm not really sure what enticed everybody to go. I was never a smoker. But the e-cigs they taste better, so it's a lot easier transition. So it's the people that probably wouldn't have picked up a cigarette that are now going to be addicted to nicotine. And I feel kind of some of the e-cigs are labeled better than others. Some of them are not labeled as well. And I feel bad for the people that are trying to really break their nicotine addiction that may be getting a hold of some of these e-cigs that still have just as much or more nicotine than a cigarette. So
it's amazing. You know, they got rid of candy cigarettes, you know, after I was a kid. I can still remember having a pack of candy and they were little cigarettes, you know. And now they're making nicotine products that taste like grapefruit or grape or whatever the case
Jolly
is.
Ranchers.
Yeah, and it's enticing people. It's almost like a reward for doing it, you know, because, oh, this tastes so good, that's why I'm doing it. Well, first of all, another thing too before we get started is when we talk about nicotine, we're not just talking about smoking, we're talking about all tobacco products.
All tobacco.
Because there's just as much problems that you have with dipping and things of that nature than you do with smoking, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And the schools, you know, when I talk at the schools, the teachers, some of them are like, you make sure you include the dip. Because and I don't know if that's because the kids can hide that. Of course, they
Right.
can't smoke in class.
Right.
But they could hide that a little bit more. But we still see a lot of the dip. The rates are still about steady on that.
Really?
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, listen, today we're here to discuss this grant that you got from Owensboro Health, and it's to promote Quit Now Kentucky and the distribution of free nicotine replacement products. So tell us about that.
Well, we wrote it at Owensboro Health for the last year's grant, so we started in September. We will offer, if you call the Quit line and identify yourself from any of our 7 Green River counties, you will be eligible for free patches, gum, or lozenges. And if we talked about the socioeconomic aspect of smoking, these boxes of nicotine replacement are sometimes $35 to $50 a box. And the argument has always been, if they can afford the cigarettes, they can afford the box. But for somebody that may buy a pack at a time, 5 and 5 and 5, the 38 is hard to save up for. So this will give them their nicotine replacement for free. It reduces the barriers of travel for the people that don't get out much, can't travel, maybe homebound.
Right.
It delivers right to your door. We can't make it any easier.
Right.
So it's been proven that counseling, which will be provided by the Quit line, plus the nicotine replacement is probably our best bet for quitting.
Okay, because when I read the information you sent me, it said it's a science-based as far as the counseling over the telephone has a success rate, does it not?
Yes. Their lone success rate without the medication is 24%, but that sounds horrible. And when I talk to the kids, I'm like, that's if you got a 24% on a test, that
Right.
would be a very bad grade.
Right.
But it's just such a strong addiction that 24% is really a really good percentage, especially if you compare it to like just cold turkey,
Right.
which is not as successful. And then, but you add the medication, and then you're going to go up quite a bit. And it's just hard for people to do it on their own without the withdrawal. These counselors are. When we first came out with the Quit line, like I've been around a while,
Right.
I thought, you call this telephone number and they'd be like, you need to quit. And you'd be
Right.
like, okay.
Yeah.
And that would be it. But it's a series of calls. These are trained counselors. It's not just some random person. They're trained in motivational interviewing. And what I like about it is people tend to stop their quit attempt or slip up when they have stress.
Right.
So they will take you through, okay, you'll call and say, I had a really bad day, I smoked a cigarette. Well, what could you have done? What are you going to do next time? So they'll talk to you about that. So it's a really good counseling technique.
Right.
Because we have people that sometimes will stop smoking for 3 years, but the first bad things that happen, they don't know what else to do, and they go back to the cigarettes. So this will counsel you on how to manage your stress in your life without the cigarettes.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I quit, I never went back. I didn't even try a cigarette because, and as I've told you before, now I'm more or less repulsed by the smell of it and things of that nature. I'm so hypersensitive to it. I can be driving down the road and I can smell somebody ahead of me in a vehicle who is smoking. I can smell it as they blow it out the window. I catch that whiff of it. So I think I'm really hypersensitive to it. But I think that people also have to understand, just because you stumble once, that doesn't mean that it's over, right?
Yeah. This might be my coin term. I call that a slip. We have slipped. You are still a non-smoker. You've slipped. You keep it on.
Right.
Is what my theory. You don't just throw your hands up and say, okay, well, I've screwed it up.
Right.
And a lot of people do that, but when I talk to people, or I've even talked to family members, you slipped. Now get on back to your plan.
Exactly. Because and I think what this program is doing is very good, because like you said, you're taking, the way I see it, you're taking the barriers away, because one of the barriers is cost, very much so. I mean, the cost of these nicotine replacement patches or the lozengers or the gum or whatever it is, these things aren't cheap. And most importantly, I think, is that you're giving people help. It's kind of like being on a diet. As long as no one's around watching, maybe I can go ahead and slip in a little food. It may be the same thing, but if they're accountable, my wife and I were both smokers, but we were accountable to each other for it, and that was that we had each other for support. Some people don't have that advantage, so this, I can only imagine, is really good for them. So what is your overall goal for this project? Obviously, I'm sure you'd like for everyone in the world to quit smoking.
Yes.
Okay.
The overall goal is publicize the Quit line, because it's a tool out there that hardly anybody knows about. So we've been trying to publicize the Quit line for a few years. About 70% of people want to stop smoking, And the last data I had on the quit line was only about 24% of people knew that we even had one. That was a few years ago. So I hope we've done a good job. We've even got it on a bus running around town, one of the grits buses. We wrapped that.
Yeah.
And the second is to provide to deplete my grant of all the funds paying for nicotine replacement in these 7 counties. I want to run out of money.
Right.
I want to run out of money, and I want to write another grant and run out of money again.
Right. So how long is this being offered?
Until I run out of money.
Okay.
But the Owensboro Health Grant Cycle will come again, and if they can see we're successful, then we can keep going.
Right. When did you kick this off? When did this get started?
September 15th is when I started putting the ads out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Of this past year, 2017.
And December numbers were 87. I had 87 people take the nicotine replacement products.
Okay.
I think I have enough for 200, so I have plenty left. We
Okay.
just need to make sure another 100 so people come and get it, and hopefully we can get more money.
Now, when you get the nicotine replacement, you also get the telephone support that goes with that.
And what happens is you sign up for the telephone support, you'll get through your first 4 weeks, and you keep the support going, and you keep up your calls, you'll get another 4 weeks. So you'll get 8 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, some people, I think, drop the calls and don't get the second 4 weeks, but hopefully they've stopped and they're going well on their own. But
Right.
if you keep with it, you'll get 8 weeks.
Right.
Yeah, and
Wow.
usually those patches, it takes about 8 to 12 weeks to go all the way down from the 21 milligram to like the 7.
Okay. Now, and I know you kind of mentioned where some people may only call for so long. Are you seeing an increase are you seeing the distribution of the nicotine replacement and also the call center? Both.
Yeah.
So people are using the
Yes.
call center.
We're up a little bit from last year on the calls, but we were up pretty good last year because last year we wrote a grant for just publicizing the quit line the last 2 years.
Okay.
So when we before we started writing grants to publicize and wrap the bus and do an ad and radio, we had like maybe, some counties had nobody call. And we had maybe, a handful, 10 people call all year. It was just a ridiculously low number. So the first year we started publicizing, we had like 170 people call, which doesn't sound like a lot of people, but I think I figured that up to be like a 5,000% increase.
Right.
That's a lot more people than 10.
Right. Exactly.
So it's been growing since we gotten the word out there. So this is just helping it grow a little bit more.
Well, excellent. Okay, where can viewers get additional information about this program?
You can call the health department at 686-7747. You can ask for me, Becky Horn, or you can ask for my partner, Rich Nading.
Okay.
And you can also just call the quit line if you want to sign up, which is 1-800-QUIT-NOW. So if you don't need any more information and you just want to call and sign yourself up, you can also go to quitnowkentucky.org and look up just information on the quit line. They have their own website. You can sign up online, and the good thing about that is when you do call and you go online, you can do some activities online, and your counselor can see that you've been online and that you have maybe made a quit plan. They could, they could see that, hey, I've seen you've been online and you've done this, so let's expand. So it's almost 24/7 coverage, and the quit line is from like 7 to midnight each day, so 7 days a week. So you've got a lot of time to call.
Excellent. Well, Becky, thanks so much, and really best of luck to you with this grant. It sounds like you're doing real well with it, and from all of us, we certainly appreciate your dedication into trying to get people to quit smoking around here.
Yes, hope
everywhere would be super. Okay, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you right back here in March.